The number one thing you can do to find more deals to buy is build long-term relationships with brokers. That's a statistical fact. The number one thing you can do to keep those brokers bringing you deals over and over again is close. But just closing on a deal is half the battle. Stick around, we need to dive a little bit deeper. Let's go! I was recently on the Discovering Multifamily podcast with Anthony Scandariato, and we talked about how do you keep the deal pipeline thick from brokers. Take a listen. The first part of this podcast, we talked about who controls the inventory and how do you automate contact with the broker. That's just the base. The number one thing you can do to have brokers salivating over you is closing. And not just closing. Closing's one component, okay? A lot of people can close. It's closing with the best reputation in place. That's the number one thing you can do. Not closing, because you can close and you can be an a-hole and never get called back again and never see another listing again. You have to close with reputation. We can go over a whole bunch of do's and don'ts about how you transact in a manner in which makes brokers fall in love with you. But the basis is closing, is doing what you say you're going to do and not making an ass of yourself, not putting the broker in a bad position and not looking bad in front of everyone that's part of the transaction. You have to remember, every transaction you do, it's not just the seller and the broker. If you perform poorly in a transaction, yes, that seller and that broker is going to be talking about you to lots of people who are going to affect you long term, but there's a lot of other people. There's 2 attorneys, there's property managers, there's title people, there's leasing agents, there's phase 1 consultants. All these guys are watching how you participate in the transaction. They hear whether or not you closed or not and why, and then they talk to other people. Even a phase 1 guy who's only out there for a couple of days, when he hears from Beau the broker, oh yeah, the deal didn't close. Well, why didn't it close? Well, so-and-so did this. Phase 1 guy is friends with hundreds of investors and they're talking. They're like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, did you hear about so-and-so transaction Beau was working on? Oh yeah. Well, Anthony was the buyer. This is what he did. And so there's dozens of conversations happening about you and you don't even know what's being said or whatever. And you know how the world works. When you do the good things, people are going to tell people, 8 or 10 people. When you screw up, it's going to be dozens and dozens of people. All right. So now you understand the importance of not just closing, but closing with reputation. But let's think about how we can constantly keep ourselves in check during a transaction. If you just repeatedly ask yourself during a transaction, given the people involved in the transaction, will my actions so far earn me more deals in the future or less deals in the future? I know, it's hard to ask yourself tough questions. But if you can get really good at that, if you can keep your reputation top of mind at all times, man, you're going to get flooded with deals. I hope this video brought you a lot of value, and if it did, please hit the like and the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you on the next one.